Hello and welcome to another R6 tips and tricks video, Operator Edition. The operator we'll be discussing in this video is Ash. She is the third attacker in the lineup and is extremely easy to use. Ash is a 3-speed 1 armour attacker who has a grenade launcher that fires breaching rounds, but first let's talk about her loadout. For Ash's primary, the player's decision between the G36C assault rifle and the R4C assault rifle. The R4C marginally takes the upper hand in relation to damage, with it having a damage reading of 39 instead of the G36C's 38. As well as this, it has an increased fire rate of 860 rounds per minute instead of the 780 rounds per minute for its counterpart. This means that the overall damage per second of the R4C is 559, an additional 65 above the G36C, weighing in at 494 damage per second. This is, however, adjusted through the increased recoil of the R4C versus a more precise spread with the G36C, but this is barely noticeable. Furthermore, I believe it's worth mentioning that the R4C does not have an ACOG sight, whereas the G36 does, but for Ash's playstyle, ACOG is really not needed. For her secondary weapon, the player has the choice between the M45 Musoc handgun and the 5.7 USG handgun. The M45 does more damage at 58 damage versus 42 damage, and is probably better at close range, provided that you are accurate. However, it has a smaller mag size of 7 bullets versus the 5.7 having 20, and it has much more difficult recoil pattern than the 5.7, which makes the 5.7 possibly a more feasible option. Moving on to her gadgets, the options are between the breaching charge and the stun grenade. You get 3 of each, but personally, I feel like the breach charge is made fairly redundant through Ash's breaching rounds, which I'll be covering next. So let's move on to the stun grenade. This has the ability to fully blind someone and give you the advantage in gunfight. It's fairly standard, so I don't think it requires that much content time. Ash comes equipped with a grenade launcher that fires breaching rounds. The breaching rounds are unaffected by gravity with no drop off at range, and they also have no projectile size, meaning they can pass through openings as small as a bullet hole. Once stuck to a given surface, the breach charge blows up after a short delay. A direct hit of a breaching round deals 50 damage and will not explode, whereas an explosion can deal a maximum of 85 damage in a short radius. The breaching round is affected by Bandit's shockwires and K's electroclaw, meaning it will be instantly destroyed and will not explode. Furthermore, Yaeli's ADS and Wamai's magnet can intercept the breaching round if they are within the range, yet the breach is unaffected by mute signal disruptors. Finally, let's move on to playstyles. The most common way that players tend to use Ash is for the notorious Ash Rush, due to her speed and ability to soft breach whilst moving to reach the site or vantage points before the defenders are expecting anyone. A slightly different approach to Ash is through the use of a vertical play to gain different lines of sight into the enemies, although this is often achieved through other operators in the team such as Buck or Sledge. Overall, Ash is a solid operator that, while doesn't necessarily add to the teamwork aspect of Siege, can be used to gain an advantage for the attacking side. Anyway, I hope you learnt something in this episode of R6 Tips and Tricks Operator Edition. Next time we'll be looking in detail at the defender Castle and all the different ways in which you should play him and in what situations. As always, like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here, as around 50% of you aren't subscribed, so hit that button below and I'll see you next time.